Harry breaks silence. Podcast bombshell reveals divorce plans, betrayal, and a royal ultimatum. Los Angeles, the 30th of January 2026. In an exclusive, emotionally charged podcast aired Sunday night on Sirius XM Originals and Peacock Live, Prince Harry stunned global audiences with a series of deeply personal revelations. The episode, part of the limited series Unfiltered with Harry, was hosted by none other than Emmy-winning late-night icon Jimmy Kimmel, whose presence brought both gravitas and shock value to the discussion. But it was Harry's voice raw, cracking at moments that delivered the punch the world didn't expect. This isn't about Hollywood anymore. This is about betrayal, about dignity, about truth, Harry declared, pausing before announcing, "I am moving forward with a press conference in London this February to confirm my intention to file for divorce from Meghan Markle." Those words ignited an instant media firestorm. The podcast was recorded at a discreet studio in West Hollywood on the evening of January 26, just 2 days before the official drop. Harry, seated across from Kimmel in a modest black crew neck and no wedding ring in sight, described himself as a deeply betrayed man and a father at a breaking point. He laid bare the narrative many suspected but never heard from his own lips, that Meghan Markle had not only left their Montecito estate without warning on January 23, but had also informed him that she was done pretending. The reason? A man she described as more worthy of her time, her image, and her future. Now, she said, he was a Middle Eastern royal. She wouldn't name him, only that he's rich, powerful, respected, and her words, not mine, not some broke royal clinging to relevance in Hollywood. Harry painted a bleak picture of the final days of their relationship, hushed phone calls Meghan would take at 3 a.m., mysterious deliveries of Cartier jewelry, Hermes handbags, and luxury perfumes first brushed off as brand gifts from potential partners. But on the night of her departure, Harry claimed, she looked him in the eyes and said flatly, "Those aren't gifts. They're from him. He wants me to represent his house, his name. He's making me a princess, not of England, but of the New World." According to Harry, Meghan told him plainly, "The British monarchy is outdated, elitist, and toxic. I'm done playing Duchess for a family with no class. ADS." He paused, hands trembling audibly through the microphone, and whispered, "It wasn't even the betrayal that broke me. It was watching Archie repeat her words in front of Lilibet, mocking his father like it was rehearsed." As the podcast progressed, Harry described escalating emotional cruelty inside the home. Meghan allegedly ridiculed his lack of influence in the U.S., telling friends that Hollywood isn't scared of ginger PTSD. It wants a story, and I've got one. In fact, said. She repeatedly belittled his finances, comparing him to her new partner, who allegedly owns property in Monaco, Dubai, and Paris. Meghan confiscated Harry's phone for several days after Christmas, allegedly to protect her contacts from royal spyware. When asked by Kimmel if he felt safe, Harry responded, "Emotionally, never. I felt like a guest inside my own house, a decoration for her documentary, a ghost to my kids. Mike stand longa, and this news the distry." Toward the end of the episode, the conversation took a sharp turn into legal territory. Harry confirmed that his attorney, James L. Stanford, filed preliminary paperwork with the Los Angeles Superior Court on January 29, officially signaling Harry's intent to pursue sole custody of Archie and Lilibet and seek full division of marital assets in his favor. Citing California Family Code Section 4320 and Section 760, Stanford's team will argue that Meghan violated marital trust by openly declaring a new romantic relationship while still legally married, that her intentional abandonment of the family home constitutes willful emotional desertion, that Harry is the primary caregiver, based on school records, nanny statements, and internal communication logs. Though Meghan did not appear on the podcast, Harry shared excerpts of her alleged final remarks before leaving. "I don't want the kids. I don't want your name. I don't want your chaos. You can keep them and their therapy bills." He added that Meghan had already begun dismantling their shared Montecito household, redirecting mail, freezing joint bank accounts, and transferring brand rights from Arkawell to a new Dubai-based LLC under her name. As of January 30, multiple legal correspondences have been exchanged between the two camps. Meghan's legal team, reportedly led by celebrity divorce attorney Laura Melrose, has refused all initial proposals, opting instead to force financial division through litigation, but has waived all parental custody claims, an unusual move, which legal experts say may be strategic or simply emotional detachment. She doesn't want the children, Harry claimed. She wants the empire. We file like today, an enfriend. As the public reels from Prince Harry's emotionally charged podcast reveal on January 28, a deeper battle is beginning to unfold. One not waged on airwaves or through headlines, but in the shadows of law offices and courtrooms. This second part of our in-depth report dives into the raw, legal, and financial fallout between the Duke of Sussex and Meghan Markle, unraveling not just the collapse of a marriage, but the slow dismantling of a public brand. Following Harry's podcast, legal experts in both the UK and US quickly weighed in. His legal team, led by family law specialist James L. Stanford, filed a preliminary divorce petition with the Superior Court of Los Angeles County on January 29. Though not yet finalized, the filing contains a scathing breakdown of willful abandonment, emotional misconduct, and breach of marital fidelity. If UTAD messed of the seven, under California Family Code Section 760, any assets acquired during the marriage are presumed to be community property, split 50/50. However, Harry's counsel is invoking Family Code Section 4320, which allows judges to factor in emotional harm, abandonment, and parental responsibilities when deciding spousal support and asset division. The petitioner, Prince Harry, has been the sole parental figure for the children for the past 6 months, while the respondent Markle has distanced herself from the home, parenting, and financial transparency, reads a leaked excerpt from the filing. In short, Harry is asking for 100% custody of both Archie, now 7, and Lilibet 4, citing Meghan's own disinterest and verbal confirmation that she does not want to raise children in the shadow of royal toxicity. Gat. End quote. 19:4 PS. Harry recounted in the podcast that on the night of January 23, Meghan reportedly said, "You can keep them, Harry. I've carried this lie long enough. I'm not their nanny. I'm not your therapist. I'm not a Windsor anymore." Later that night, she packed 4 suitcases, declined all security escort services, and boarded a private jet from Burbank to Dubai via Paris, where she was reportedly met by staff tied to a Middle Eastern royal household. Meghan's legal team has not contested the timeline, but issued a brief statement on January 30. Our client respectfully declines to comment on hearsay. She is focused on her next chapter and will respond to legal claims in the appropriate venue. According to court documents and multiple verified financial sources, the couple's joint assets fall into several categories. Montecito Estate, estimated value, $14 million, currently mortgaged for $11. $8 million via a long-term variable rate loan from First Republic Bank. Netflix development funds, $6 million remaining from a multi-series contract, originally worth $18 million. Podcasting advance, $1.2 million paid by Spotify, but halted after contract was suspended in late 2025. Archewell Holdings, valued at approximately $4.5 million, currently frozen pending an ongoing audit by the IRS and the California State Attorney General's Office. Luxury goods and gifts, estimated at $2.8 million, including jewelry, apparel, and luxury items Harry claims were personally delivered to Meghan and reclassified as gifts from her romantic partner. Meghan's legal team argues these goods were contractual perks tied to business deals. Harry's side alleges they were romantic gifts, constituting a breach of marital trust, and demands their inclusion in the divorce proceedings. When a spouse brings home $100,000 worth of Cartier without an invoice, and later admits they were from a new boyfriend, it's not just fraud. It's humiliation, Stanford told reporters on January 30. After deductions for mortgage debt, suspended income, legal retainers, and potential tax liabilities, financial analysts estimate less than $3.5 million in liquid assets remain in the couple's joint estate. Of that amount, $2 million is tied up in pending media escrow from Penguin Random House. $850,000 may be seized in the Archewell audit outcome. Harry has requested the remainder, roughly $1.4 million, be used as down payment for a modest countryside estate in Surrey, should he be allowed to return to the UK with full custody. In the final 5 minutes of the podcast, Harry revealed a move that startled even his most sympathetic listeners. Speaking slowly, he said, "If the Crown refuses to acknowledge my right to return with my children, then I will have no choice. I will place Archie and Lilibet in the care of a private children's refuge, and request monthly support from Meghan while I fight for our right to be safe. When asked by Kimmel if that was a real threat or an emotional outburst, Harry replied, "It's the only card I have left. They took my name, my country, and now my family. I'm not bluffing." End quote. And quoted from Medexpections. According to California law, Harry can apply for emergency guardianship transfer if he declares himself unable to provide stable housing, a move which many see as symbolic, but which could force the royal family to negotiate quietly behind closed doors. January 29, divorce petition filed. February 12, mandatory mediation session scheduled at the Beverly Hills branch of the LA County Family Court. March 18, preliminary custody hearing. April 1, proposed date for financial arbitration. Royal watchers and legal analysts agree. This will be the most closely watched divorce since Charles and Diana. Except this time, one side has already left the palace, and the other is fighting to get back in. While Prince Harry's voice dominated headlines following the January 28 podcast bombshell, a quieter but equally potent drama was unfolding across the globe. Meghan Markle's abrupt departure from Montecito was not simply a walkout. It was a calculated exit, deeply entwined with Middle Eastern influence, whispered royal affiliations, and a growing PR machine working overtime to reposition her in an entirely different monarchy. According to verified private jet logs obtained through LAX aviation records, a Gulfstream G650 registered to a holding company based in Qatar departed from Burbank Airport at 10:12 p.m. on January 23, bound for Le Bourget Airport in Paris, then redirected to Abu Dhabi Executive Jet Terminal 17 hours later. Eyewitnesses at Burbank's private terminal reported seeing Meghan accompanied by 2 bodyguards, 4 designer suitcases, and a man in a tailored cream sherwani, who was identified only as Mr. Al-R. 3 days later, Middle Eastern tabloids published uncaptioned photos of Meghan entering the Royal Emirates Club in Dubai, a location traditionally reserved for members of Gulf royal families and their guests. While no official statement has confirmed the identity of her host, several diplomatic sources pointed toward a younger cousin of the ruling family in Bahrain, described as Western-educated, ambitious, and obsessed with soft power influence. It's no des, have like skill did. What emerged next shocked even those familiar with Meghan's history of reinvention. Leaked audio from a security contractor verified through time-stamped footage captured Meghan referring to her new benefactor as a real prince, not a broken one, and someone who doesn't need Netflix to be relevant. In a separate clip, she's heard saying, "In Britain, they stripped me of everything but the gossip. In the Gulf, I will have title, dignity, and a future. I'll be a princess, just not in Windsor." In res expandis, the implication was seismic. Meghan was no longer pursuing fame through Western media channels. She was positioning herself within the royal adjacent spheres of Gulf diplomacy and cultural elevation. A soft transition into becoming the global face of philanthropy, fashion, and possibly even religious reform under the umbrella of a powerful household. Just days before Harry's podcast aired, Meghan's camp quietly purchased 3 domain names linked to a new brand identity: the Sapphire Crescent Initiative, House of Light Foundation, Beyond Titles. All 3 were registered under a Dubai-based agency known for handling reputational transformations of Gulf heiresses, former royals, and exiled European elites. While no official press release has been issued, insiders suggest Meghan is preparing to launch a women's empowerment platform across the UAE, Saudi Arabia, and Bahrain, backed by private capital. Her goal? To outgrow the victim of the crown narrative and reclaim authority in a geopolitical space where British titles no longer matter but discretion, elegance, and royal proximity still do. Within 48 hours of Harry's podcast, multiple pro-Meghan editorials appeared across Al Jazeera English, Arab News, and even Vogue Arabia, each carefully towing the line between journalism and brand positioning. These articles painted Meghan as a woman reasserting her worth after royal gaslighting, a bridge between West and East in a fractured world, a voice for voiceless women in repressive systems. Curiously, none addressed Harry directly, nor did they mention the children, Arkawell, or her past claims in the Oprah interview. Instead, they emphasized Meghan's new chapter, private partnerships, and vision for diplomatic goodwill. When pressed by BBC journalists about the omission of Harry and their children in her latest branding efforts, her publicist responded, "This is not about family disputes. This is about legacy, culture, and global alignment." In Delphi, Buckingham Palace has not released an official comment, but senior aides confirmed that King Charles III was deeply disturbed by the Gulf developments, especially after receiving intelligence briefs suggesting Meghan had engaged in informal talks with Gulf leaders about soft cultural diplomacy as early as November 2025. Palace insiders described this move as a reverse Diana gambit, not using emotional vulnerability to captivate the world, but instead trading in sovereign lineage for foreign prestige. Meghan's actions go beyond scandal, one royal aide stated anonymously. She is attempting to shift the axis of royal influence from the west to the east. It's not personal, it's geopolitical. As Meghan's new Middle Eastern alliance continues to solidify, Harry's position weakens. Financially burdened, emotionally isolated, and legally outmaneuvered, his only remaining asset is the public, and perhaps the children. That is why his podcast was not merely a confession. It was a counterstrike. "She thinks she's leaving me behind," Harry said at the end of the episode. "But I still have something she wants, the truth, and our children deserve to hear it one day." The battle now spans 2 continents, 2 cultures, and 2 incompatible visions of royalty. One seeks healing through confession, the other through ascension. If the emotional wreckage of Harry and Meghan's split is now scattered across continents, its heaviest weight rests on the smallest shoulders. In this part of our exclusive series, we examine how 2 young royals, Archie Harrison and Lilibet Diana, have become both pawns and pressure points in a transatlantic divorce, now threatening to reshape royal precedent and legal custody norms across 2 judicial systems. Prince Harry's podcast admission that he may be forced to place his children in a private care facility if the British Crown continues to block his return has shaken observers and enraged family law experts alike. In that segment, his voice cracked as he said, "I'm not threatening. I'm pleading. If I'm not allowed to raise my children in peace in my country, then I may have to surrender them to neutral care until I can guarantee their future." The shock wasn't just in the words. It was in reality, because in California family courts, Harry's statement could legally be interpreted as intent to seek temporary guardianship transfer, a clause rarely invoked by parents unless facing proven housing instability or legal exile. Under California Family Code Section 3010-3011, both parents have equal rights to custody, unless one parent is deemed unfit, has abandoned the home, or is actively endangering the child. Harry's legal team is citing multiple points. Abandonment. Meghan left on January 23 without notifying any legal or medical professionals regarding the children's transfer or continued care. Emotional neglect. Statements allegedly made by Meghan, such as, "You keep the therapy bills," are being presented as evidence of unwillingness to co-parent. Lack of contact. Meghan has not made a video call, sent a message, or submitted a visitation request since her departure, confirmed by court-admitted communications records. These claims are being bundled into an emergency custody petition now scheduled for review on the 18th of March 2026 before Judge Maria Sanchez, a veteran of complex high-profile family disputes in the Los Angeles County Superior Court. In one of the most intimate revelations of the podcast, Harry shared how his son, Archie, began to parrot language he overheard from Meghan. "He looked at me and said, 'Why don't you have a castle? You're just a sad prince with no kingdom.' And he laughed. I don't think he even knew what it meant, but I did. I knew who he heard it from." For Harry, that wasn't just a parental heartbreak, it was a warning bell. He spoke of moments where Lilibet repeated the phrase "Mummy says daddy is a problem," and described how both children started withdrawing during bedtime stories, asking when the real prince was coming to get them. "They're being rewritten in real time," Harry said, "and I'm fighting not just for custody but for their identity. Don't freeze second." While Meghan has declined to claim custody, her attorneys submitted a formal declaration on January 30, stating, "Our client will not contest full custody provided the petitioner upholds the legal and financial obligations owed to the minors under California state law." Translation: Meghan is willing to let Harry raise the children, as long as she's not pursued for child support or future claims of parental abandonment. This unusual position has baffled legal commentators. It's highly atypical for a mother in California, especially a public figure, to walk away from custody without proposing shared visitation or even PR damage control, noted attorney Lindsay Rourke, a family law consultant in Santa Monica. It signals either genuine disinterest or a larger geopolitical strategy that excludes her children from her next chapter. Behind the gates of Buckingham Palace, the situation is more delicate than most assume. While Prince William has remained silent, Sources say he has refused to offer official sanctuary to Harry until the custody matter is legally resolved. Princess Anne, according to aides, is deeply sympathetic to the children's position, but wary of triggering international custody jurisdiction conflicts. Bringing Archie and Lilibet to the UK without dual parental consent could provoke diplomatic escalation, especially if Meghan establishes citizenship or residency through Gulf partnerships, one royal policy advisor explained. Currently, both Archie and Lilibet hold dual US-UK citizenship. However, under the Hague Convention on the civil aspects of international child abduction, moving them out of the U.S. without Meghan's signed approval despite her abandonment could result in civil penalties and forced repatriation proceedings. To counter this, Harry's legal team is reportedly preparing to file a motion for sole relocation rights, citing permanent primary residency by the father since December 2025, lack of maternal involvement in education, medical decisions, and spiritual care. Meghan's declared disinterest in visitation or shared custody. The motion, if approved, would allow Harry to legally relocate with the children to the UK by May 2026, barring any appeal. As this custody drama unfolds, public opinion is shifting. An overnight poll by YouGov UK on January 30 showed 61% of respondents support Harry retaining full custody. 72% believe Meghan's new path is incompatible with parenting two young British-American children. Only 11% agreed with Meghan's refusal to provide financial support or visitation structure. Online forums, particularly parenting and expat communities, have rallied around Harry, many sharing personal stories of abandonment, custody limbo, and international legal complications. For Meghan, the children represent a closed chapter. For Harry, they are the center of his purpose, and the final remnant of a family he feels slipping away. "If I fail to protect them from this storm," Harry said, "then I don't deserve the Windsor name. Not because I left, but because I let it all happen." As emotions blaze and custody claims dominate headlines, a quieter war rages in balance sheets, contracts, and offshore accounts. In this fifth installment, we examine the financial dissection of Prince Harry and Meghan Markle's shared empire, from the shaky foundations of Archewell to the frozen millions under IRS scrutiny, and the reputational chess match now threatening to bankrupt more than just trust. Founded in 2020, the Archewell Foundation was initially launched with fanfare as a force for compassion in action. But by late 2025, the nonprofit found itself entangled in a web of regulatory flags, delayed filings, and inconsistent donor tracking. A leaked memo from the California Department of Justice, dated the 14th of November 2025, noted, "Failure to produce consistent quarterly disclosures in accordance with state nonprofit law has resulted in a temporary suspension of operational privileges. Thanks for watching." End quote. I'm Self-Contact. According to sources close to the investigation, Archewell's primary bank account held under First Horizon Trust was frozen on the 7th of December 2025, pending clarification on the origin of over $4.2 million USD in bundled donations that allegedly arrived via a Dubai-based philanthropic intermediary linked to Meghan's new circle. Initial forensic audits revealed troubling inconsistencies. Yuan, $6 million allocated to cross-border development projects with no corresponding invoices. $850,000 in luxury vendor reimbursements labeled wellness and leadership expenses, including purchases from Cartier, Chanel, and Emirates Gold. Over $400,000 transferred to a shell corporation known as MW International Projects, which holds no public office, staff, or business license in California. An internal report obtained by investigative journalist Fiona Cutler alleged that two Archewell advisors resigned in December, citing a total breakdown in transparency and unauthorized financial commitments made by Meghan without board approval. As of January 31, the foundation remains under state and federal review. Public donations have been halted, and grant partners such as Global Citizens and BetterUp have issued statements pausing collaboration until further notice. Harry's attorneys argue that Meghan diverted marital assets into personal soft power ventures under the guise of joint philanthropy, thus violating California's fiduciary duty between spouses under Family Code Section 721. The funds were raised under the shared Windsor legacy, his attorney James Stanford said, but instead of benefiting the children or the institution, they were laundered into image curation, international real estate access, and lifestyle elevation. Included in the legal brief, filed January 30, 10-1, $2 million transfer from Archewell to a Dubai-based LLC, Crescent Horizon Ventures, 3 weeks before Meghan's exit. First-class Emirates flights and resort accommodations billed to the foundation under cultural diplomacy engagements. A $95,000 Birkin bag, purchased through a French distributor using a debit card tied to a shared Archewell account. Meghan's team has refused to comment on specific transactions, citing ongoing audits, but insists that all expenses were for legitimate brand development and international relationship building. According to UK-based analyst firm Cressmont Advisors, Meghan's accessible net worth as of January 31 is substantially dependent on undisclosed agreements with Gulf partners and future asset conversions tied to her new ventures. In other words, fluid, unverified, and vulnerable. Her known holdings include luxury item inventory estimated at $2.3 million, equity in a yet-to-launch media fund backed by Saudi entrepreneur Tariq Al Nassar, a Cayman Island trust, believed to be funded post-2023 but without public declaration. With Archewell frozen and all Netflix, Spotify deals paused or terminated, Meghan's ability to claim a stable financial base in court is legally fragile, opening a path for Harry's team to argue material imbalance and demand compensatory judgment in division of remaining assets. The couple's primary residence, an 18,000-square-foot estate in Montecito, has become the most contentious physical asset in the divorce proceedings. Purchased in 2020 for $14.6 million, the home is currently mortgaged at $11.8 million under a floating interest loan, in pre-default status due to missed payments in October and December 2025, facing property tax liens filed by Santa Barbara County, totaling $43,000. Harry is seeking permission to sell the property before foreclosure and use the remaining equity estimated at $2.1 million after debt and fees to purchase a modest countryside property in Surrey, UK, where he hopes to raise Archie and Lilibet if relocation is granted. Legal experts agree. While the money matters, what's truly at stake is narrative control. Meghan's pivot toward Middle Eastern royal circles is being spun as a spiritual and philanthropic evolution. Harry's side argues it's an escape from accountability and audit exposure. She knew Archewell was collapsing, Stanford claimed in a media briefing, and rather than face it, she flew into another dynasty where scrutiny is optional. And Alyssa's Very 5:15. Meanwhile, Harry continues to release structured statements through his legal team and podcast outlets, calling for a full forensic financial report to be published in the interest of public trust. A draft of this report is expected to be presented during the financial arbitration hearing scheduled for the 1st of April 2026. 67% of U.S. respondents in a Morning Consult poll support a full audit of Archewell. 73% believe Harry should gain control of the foundation's remaining assets. 58% say Meghan's exit from the organization damages its future credibility beyond repair. For many, Archewell was a symbol of royal reinvention. Now, it's Exhibit A in a case not just about divorce, but about what happens when legacy becomes leverage. As January gives way to February, the dramatic unraveling of Prince Harry and Meghan Markle's marriage reaches a boiling point. The past 10 days have transformed private fractures into public firestorms. With financial records under forensic scrutiny, custody battles escalating, and reputations on the line, a royal reckoning is now unavoidable. The first public hearing in the Sussex divorce saga has been scheduled for the 18th of March, 2026, in Los Angeles County Superior Court, Division 7C. Presiding over the case is Judge Maria Sanchez, known for her firm but fair handling of high-profile custody and asset cases. Meghan has not yet confirmed whether she will appear in person or via video link. Harry's team, however, insists he will testify live, with a formal press conference planned for the 14th of February 2026 in London, just hours before he departs the U.S., under temporary custody travel orders. On February 14, Prince Harry is expected to stand at Clarence House, flanked by his UK legal counsel, where he will officially announce the filing of divorce proceedings, present his case for sole custody of Archie and Lilibet, detail his demands for a full audit of Archewell, reaffirm his intention to return to royal duty in a limited and humanitarian capacity. His prepared remarks, as leaked to reporters, close with a stark line: "I left for peace, I return for truth. My children will grow up with clarity, not conflict." From her private residence in Dubai's Emirates Crown Tower, Meghan remains silent. Her legal counsel is expected to issue a written rebuttal on February 15, asserting that Meghan categorically denies financial wrongdoing. The children deserve dual heritage and not custody battles. Her move to the Gulf is motivated by global service, not escape. No further court filings have been made on her behalf since January 30. What was once imagined as a global, modern rebranding of royalty now stands fractured. Archewell is suspended and under audit. Their Montecito home faces foreclosure. Their children live in legal limbo. Their marriage, once symbolic of reinvention, ends in geopolitical division. For Harry, this may become a long road toward redemption. For Meghan, a redefinition on foreign soil. For the public, it is the end of an era once called the New Royal Wave. End quote. This is not about winning, Harry told Jimmy Kimmel in the podcast that started it all. This is about surviving with honor and making sure that the next chapter is written with integrity, not illusion. As February begins, so too does the final chapter of a love story turned legal epic.